So what's wrong with America and how do we fix it? Well, you look in the paper these days and you see all sorts of things wrong. Mortgage crisis, the war in Iraq, abortion, all sorts of issues, immigration and such and so on. But none of them matter because all of them are straw man arguments that will never be advanced, that will only be used to distract you from the problem with our democracy. And that's that it's not a democracy, it's an oligarchy. Look it up. We are run by the money and for the money. There is no democracy when the people don't have the information they need to make informed decisions. And that's because the media is owned by the money. The media is owned by five corporations. Five corporations decide, tell you what, or tell the majority what to think. Now, there's about 10% of us who get out on the internet and dig up the truth about everything because the information is out there, if you can dig it up. But in a democracy, you have to get that information to 50% better of the people, or it's not a democracy. Right now, GE, Sony, Time Warner, Disney, and one other corporation own 90% of the debate in America. And they all get together, they all share board members, they're all the same entity as far as what they want the consuming public to know. And they don't want you to know anything except what will make you keep buying or keep behaving financially that's in their best interest. That's what corporations do. You would expect them to do. It got this way over the last 30 years because the FCC ownership rules were rescinded, relaxed, as if, oh, it doesn't matter anymore. They bought your media right out from under you. A democracy cannot function unless it knows the truth about the politics in America. And GE has no interest in telling you the truth. GE is an enormous weapons manufacturer, and it owns ABC News. So you flip on ABC News, and you think they're going to be anti-war, or they're going to want peace around the world? They have very little motivation to promote peace because it would affect their bottom line. As a matter of fact, there is, if ABC got on the news and started saying, we need peace, they could be sued for affecting detrimentally the bottom line of the corporation of General Electric, their parent company. You see, there are enormous potentials and enormous actualities of conflict of interest with corporate control of the free press. This all started with Reagan, but it ain't a red-blue thing. Clinton gave away most of it. Clinton was the most egregious. He's supposed to be protecting, some Democrats are supposed to be against all this consolidation against the interests of the little people. Ridiculous. Clinton was, in the Telecommunications Act of 1996, he put the final nail in the coffin by allowing the five companies that own the corporations now to consolidate to that state of affairs. But it started in the Reagan administration when he gave away the fairness doctrine. Reagan decided, well, it doesn't matter that you hear both sides of the story. It used to be an FCC rule that both sides had to be able to, if you showed one side of the story, you had to show the other. They said, we don't need that. American people can figure it out. They cannot know what to vote on if they don't see both sides of the story. And, of course, Fox News popped up right away and started just showing one side of the story. Soon it became that either side of the story didn't matter. Both sides were playing for the money anyway because the money owned the media. And how do you get your message out if you're a politician but through the media, the mass media? That's the only way. You can't put it on the internet and hope anybody figures it out. I mean, you're like a internet wacko. But Reagan allowed the fairness doctrine to be ditched and got the companies down from about 50 different companies that owned your media to about 11, and then Clinton gave the rest of it away. So that's how the media got taken over by the money. And of course, General Electric is no different from Sony. Sony may not make weapons, but you think Sony is going to say things on like, oh, we got to have peace and rabble-rouse against GE? They have the same board members in a lot of cases. They're all they're competing for viewers, but they're not competing at all for the truth for the American average American citizen. They don't care at all. They have no interest in that. They have interest in only you continuing your consumer behavior. So how do we fix this? We have to have a free press. A democracy cannot exist without a free press. And the way to get a free press is to have many different sources in the mainstream media. Now, like I say, 10% of us can get on the internet and find anything we want to, but you're not going to get your average Heartlander or your average apartment dweller to find out what's really going on and why they should vote the way they should vote unless they have many different sources telling them what's what, and that any one of those sources has to be more fair because of all the sources. You get a certain intelligence by the average citizen being exposed to many different sources for their information, a savvy that you can no longer be Fox News. Everybody would know that Fox News, and nobody would want to be seen as being Fox News' patsy. But now it's like, oh no, Fox News is still right, because the other mainstream media don't really oppose Fox media. They don't come on and just refute all of Fox media. So what do? Two things. The one most important single thing that we should all focus on, and until you're blue in the face, I don't care who you are, drop everything you're doing, any special interest you might have, from environment to the war to anything, drop it all and go get FCC ownership reform. That's first. That's primary. FCC ownership rules set back to the regulations they had in place almost the full of the last century up until 1980, when it was all changed, deregulated. Great. It's not deregulated. It's regulated in favor of the big money. FCC ownership regulations, return them to the pre-1980 status. Drop everything you're doing and get everybody you know who's at all interested in American democracy, no matter red or blue or whatever, and change that FCC rules back. That will change everything alone. One other thing that's next is publicly funded elections. If those two things are established, all these other problems that America's having become focused. We could have a fair debate among the informed public and decide these factors the way the majority wants to, no matter which way it goes. Just so that we're returned to a democracy. I mean, I have faith in the American people to make those decisions right, but not if they don't have the information to make those decisions, not if they're just given straw man arguments just to make them mad and distracted from the real problem, which is that your politicians and your vote is bought and sold. Media corporations give millions to the politicians, and it all comes right back to the media corporations in the form of advertisements, political advertisements. That's where the bulk of the money is spent. So you have corporate donations being the predominant way they get their money, and corporate control of the media being the only way they can get their message out. It's locked in. Your vote's bought and sold. Your interests are, you're no longer even, the media doesn't even longer cater to you. You're a product. You're delivered, your interests are formed by the media, they tell you what's cool, and then they deliver you lock, stock, and barrel, bundle you up, and give you to their advertisers. You're the product. You are not any longer the object of the media. You are now just another product for corporate manipulation. I know all this sounds very conspiratorial, but I think that if you will look, if you happen to be one of the very few average people looking at this video and thinking this is, some conspiracy nut, you just start Googling some of the terms I use, FCC ownership rules, etc., and find out that your democracy has been bought and sold. I mean, for most of us, it's not really a surprise. The money always has really run this country, but at least there was a greater participation of the vote and how much leeway they got. Now, they own it, lock, stock, and barrel. You got nothing to say with it. Your vote means nothing and won't mean anything until FCC ownership rules are changed and election campaign finance reform. Those two things and everything else, we get back our democracy at least, and then we can start making real determinations on immigration, abortion, whatever your environment, peace, world peace. So let's fix it. FCC ownership rule reform and election campaign finance reform. Thank you.